All right. Greetings, everyone. Greetings. My name is Maritza Alvarez. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is Mujeres de Maíz, and you're joining us live at this time. It is about 7:30. I'm sorry, 6:30. And we're really happy that you're all joining us because we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful time today with our guest, Marlene Aguilar, and we'll talk with her where she'll be providing some cooking demos. For now, I would like to first off let everyone know that I'm tuning in here from Pala, Luiseño Pala territories. And I want to thank everyone from Mujeres de Maíz and the LA County Department of Mental Health. We Rise. This is a mental health awareness month for May, and we have our second year of programming with We Rise to help raise awareness on the importance of maintaining mental health. It's critical for not only our individual self, but for community building and resilience. So, this is part of the programming that we're offering you today and with Marlene Aguilar, where she will be sharing some prep recipes. And as you can see in the background, the title is Food is Medicine, How Eating Seasonally Can Help Improve Your Health. And without further ado, to move forward, let us now bring Marlene Aguilar. Oh, I'm sorry, Marlene, you're on mute.
Yes.
There
Okay.
you go.
Is this good, Maritza? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, hello, everyone. My name is Marlene Aguilar. I am a community-based cocinera, urban gardener, and seed grower. I'm born and raised in unceded Tongva territory, also known as Los Angeles, California, specifically from the East LA neighborhood. Um, My family is from Michoacán, Mexico, and I love to pay respects to my P'urhepecha ancestry. So shout out to all the P'urhepechas out there, and also just want to say thank you to Mujeres de Maíz for having me, for inviting me to share some recipes inspired by my garden. I'm really excited to kind of just create a space where we could talk about the connections between food and mental health. Feel like there aren't that many, right? And so, thank you to the OG mujeres from Mujeres de Maíz who started it, who have kept it going, and the new organizers. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do. And thanks for the invitation. And so when I was asked to share and do a cooking demo for this monthly programming, they told me that the theme was mental health, right? And so, of course, mental health and food are connected, right? And so I knew that I wanted to not only emphasize that relationship and talk about that link, but also the importance of eating seasonally. I knew immediately that I wanted to promote seasonal eating because that's essentially how our ancestors ate, right? That's how my family ate back in the rancho, in the rural community in Michoacán. That's how their parents and the parents of their parents and my great-great-grandparents and so forth, right? And so but unfortunately, because of colonialism, there's been disruptions. Every generation, there's disruptions, right? When we look at just the foodways across the Americas, the foods and foodways is very specific to region and place, right? But as we all know, a lot of us have been displaced, moved forced out, right? And a lot of our places, our homes have been desecrated, have been contaminated, and whole ecosystems have been destroyed, right? Unfortunately. And I don't mean to bring that up and be all like Debbie Downer, right? But that's just our reality, right? And so I bring it up because it's not our fault, wholeheartedly, right? 100% that we're eating unhealthy, right? And I'm sorry, there's like a little bug here. And so it's really, I'm not trying to make people feel shame or disappointment in just kind of their eating habits or food choices, but really it's a systemic problem, right? That stems from, like, you know, it's rooted in this historical like situation, right? And so, but what I like about these spaces is that we have the time, we're making the intentions, we're setting our intentions to reclaim that, right? To reclaim back our power, to reclaim back our sovereignty, to reclaim back our seeds, to reclaim back our connection to land, regardless of where we are, right? And so it's really trying to follow that fundamental principle of eating with the seasons, right? Despite not being in your place you call home, right? And so, you know, I just really want to just emphasize that, you know, and I'm just grateful to be able to share this with y'all. I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of, oh yeah. So I'm sorry. So it's, you know, I just mentioned a brief little history, right? And it's multi-layered, very complex, right? And we could write a whole book about, you know, the link between food and mental health, right? But we only have an hour, and I'm gonna be sharing some recipes with you and showing, you know, how to step by step. But I wanted to. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay. So, oh yes, I'm sorry. But I wanted to focus specifically on the link or relationship between nutrition and mental health, right? And so lately we've been hearing, seeing research and people talk about, you know, people that are nutrient deficient are suffering mood imbalances, mental imbalances, and things related to, or symptoms related to mental health, right? So I briefly want to talk about what those nutrients are, so that, you know, we keep it in, you know, just this in mind as we decide what foods to eat, right? So one of the big ones is vitamin D, as some of y'all know. You know, when it's winter season, or the light is, the days are shorter, the nights are longer, people tend to suffer from depression or the gloom, right, or the winter blues, and that's because there's no sun, and therefore the ability to absorb vitamin D through the sun as decreases, right? And so vitamin D helps promote cell repair and tissue growth in our brains. It helps to maintain memory and cognitive activity abilities. I'm sorry. And so let's see, omega-3 fatty acids. Our brain is 60% of fat. Our body can't make essential fatty acids. So you need to eat healthy fats to fuel our brain, right? So we got to make sure that, you know, in our daily diet, we have, we're sourcing omega-3 fatty acids from the different foods that we're choosing to incorporate into our diet, right? We also have the vitamin Bs. And so that's from 1 to 12, right? And these vitamin Bs convert food into fuel. They help us stay energized, plays a role in hormonal and nerve health, helps reduce stress, and a deficiency has been linked to depression, anxiety, and mood disorders, right? And so we'll talk a little bit more about that, right? I'm going to suggest some foods for all the vitamins I'm going over right now that are in season. They're actually growing in my garden today. I want to show real quick. This is what all these things grew in my garden, from the maize to the purslane or verdolagas to the squash blossoms to the zucchini. The only things that we won't be that didn't grow in my garden is the chia, right? And then the beans and the cashews. But then we also have some herbs here, okay? And we'll be using some other ingredients, but this is kind of like the display that I want to share with y'all for now. Okay, so back to the nutrients, right? That we need to make sure we consume so we don't suffer kind of just imbalances, right? Related to mental health. So we have magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral that helps relax our body. Being deficient of magnesium can lead to stress, depression, anxiety, and it's more prevalent when consuming too much processed foods, refined sugar, salt, alcohol, and coffee. I've actually heard that coffee actually blocks the absorption of a lot of different nutrients. So, I encourage folks to minimize their intake of coffee. I know it's really hard. I had to stop myself, and it took a while, but it's worth it. I feel a lot better. So anyhow, another nutrient that we need to keep in mind of consuming regularly is amino acids. They're necessary for a healthy brain function. Deficiency has been linked to depression, brain fog, sluggishness, and lack of focus, right? So, and then we also have zinc, supports our brain function again, activates our central and peripheral nervous system, and plays an important role in the neurotransmitters and hormonal processes, right? So, I mean, that's a lot of different things, and we gotta make sure we have some of that. We'll be including that in our meal that we'll be preparing today. And then also iron. Iron is essential for the health of our brain and nervous system. And being deficient can lead to depression, anxiety, poor concentration, ADHD, and irritability. Right? So that's a whole bunch of things, right? And I don't know if y'all knew, but if you're not consuming these things, you might be feeling a little crappy and sluggish. And so that's when the term food is medicine comes to play. And, for me, food is life, right? It's the manifestation of the sun, all the elements in this particular plant that came from a seed, and it became alive, and when we consume it, that life is transferred to us, right? And so we consume foods that are alive and whole will be healthy, right? But if we happen to become sick and deficient, then that's when food turns into that medicine that will need to help us get back to balance, right? Okay, so let's just get started. I'm gonna, oh man, okay. So I have my notes here, and then I also have the camera, so bear with me. I am so sorry. We're trying to make it good here. Okay, and then another thing that I wanted to emphasize is, like, usually during the seasons, we have foods that give us the nutrients we need, right? And so, for instance, during the winter, we have the hardy winter squash. They're really dense, and you require a lot of heat to cook them, right? So that helps us keep warm, right? It also helps us. A lot of them are have red or yellow in color. I'm sorry, orange and yellow in color. And those pigmentations provide us the vitamin A's, and the vitamin A is good for our sight. And it's, we're having shorter shorter days and longer nights. So, it helps us transition our eyesight, right? And right now during spring, the emphasis really is on energy production, right? We're having longer days, so we need more energy. Also, as we move into the summer, we'll have things that are high in water. So watermelon, zucchini, tomato, you think of them and it's like cucumber. They're very, very full of water. And so that helps us in during the heat, right? So to stay hydrated. And we're being more active, right? And so there's an emphasis on revitalizing too, from winter to spring, and so forth. So I just wanted to just talk about that a little bit more, and then let's get started. So right now, what I wanted to do is feature things that are in season right now here in this particular area. Right now, we have a lot of things are still little babies, right? Or still haven't fruited quite yet. So I wanted to use the different parts of my squash plant that they're available. And so now we're seeing the flowers. The flowers here are male, and these don't get fertilized. You could tell by the center there. This is just it's like a single little palito, versus the female part has like it's pretty curly and pretty thick, right? And so we're going to be using these. These are high in vitamin B's, right? And so remember we talked about vitamin B's are good for just kind of our nerve and brain health, right? And so not surprising, the same properties are in the squash, right? And so essentially the fruit, the flower comes out, and then the female will turn, instead of a stem like the one that we have here, instead of this is the male, right? Instead of being a stick, it'll be a flower here, okay? Then we also had some edible weeds. So we have Purslane or verdolagas. These are really high in omega-3s. And omega-3s we need for a lot of different reasons, but these help us with our brain health. It has zinc, so we talked about that. It has iron. It's high in iron. It even has calcium. Let me see if I could pull up okay, it has magnesium, vitamin C. So a lot of vitamin B. So these are the nutrients that we discussed. We're going to be making a small guiso with these herbs, some frijoles. We're going to be using some herbs from our garden, so Mexican and oregano and thyme, and then we're going to also be using cashew to make a cashew queso. Cashews and all nuts are really good. They're high in healthy fats, and they're really good for our brain health as well. Remember, 60% of our brain is made of fat, and so that's why we need to be consuming healthy fats so that we can replenish it. We also have maize here. Maize has, when combined with beans, so maize has the amino acid lysine, and when combined with beans, it turns into a complete protein and essential fatty acids. So remember, we need those two as well. So okay, and then we'll also be using the masa from the blue corn. Okay, I cooked the nixtamal, and I also grinded it. And so if you want to learn how to do that, I did a nixtamal workshop last season with Mujeres de Maíz, and I think they have it saved. So make sure you check it out. Okay. Okay, so first we're gonna do the cashew queso. It's gonna have some chia, right? And so I'm gonna make a little mixture. I'm gonna use 1 tablespoon of chia. I'm not gonna need all of it, but just the standard kind of mix of 1 tablespoon chia with 3 tablespoons of water. And remember, the chia also is high in omega-3s. And so remember that's what we need to keep our brain functioning well. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna make this really well. We're gonna let it get thick, right, so that it could add moisture to our cashew cheese or a cashew mix. Okay. So then we have my food processor here. I'm going to add the cashews. I'm gonna add some lemon juice. So I'm adding it now. I'm not sure if you could see it here. I'm just kind of eyeballing it right now. But the recipe is 1.5 cups of cashew with let's see, half a lemon juice. Okay, so the juice of half a lemon. These lemons I actually got from a neighbor, so it's also in season right now, kind of towards the end of the season. We're also going to include some garlic, so I have the garlic here. And this is really simple to make. I kind of wanted to make like a plant-based substitute for queso, just because cheese and all dairies are inflammatory, and so if you have inflammation in your nerves, it's going to cause a disruption. So it's something to think about. Okay. So I'm not going to try to convert you to become stop eating dairy, but we should try to, limit our consumption. And then we also are going to take some nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is very common in the vegan cuisine, or plant-based cuisine. I like using it because it does add like a cheesy flavor to it. And we're also going to add a little bit of white vinegar. That's going to give it like a little tang. And then we're going to add some salt. I have my salt here. I'm eyeballing it, but it's half a tablespoon of salt, half the juice of half a lemon, a teaspoon of white vinegar. We're also going to add some oil. I'm using some grapeseed oil today. I like using grapeseed because it is a neutral in taste, and it's a high cooking oil, so you can fry things and it won't change its flavor. And we're also going to add some herbs. This is a Mexican oregano. Oregano is notorious for being an antibacterial, antifungal. So right now in this particular season, we're seeing a lot of allergies. So, sometimes infections can happen in our ears, sinuses, and so forth. So we're going to try to, take care of that by eating foods that are going to help our bodies fight off those kind of intrusive things that we pick up in our environment. And that's it. So let's go back and check on the chia, right? So here we go. Again, it's nice and thick now. I'm using chia to give the cheese a little moisture. It's gonna be like a requesón, like a cottage cheese almost. I want it to be smooth but not runny, so it's gonna run off like a crema, right? So that I could easily it's more like a dip, like I could just spread it across. Okay, so then because with the masa, we're going to make a huarache. Okay, so there we go. And all right, so now I'm going to add a little bit of water. I'm going to make sure I add maybe like a 1 or 2 tablespoons. I'm sorry. I had a long day, y'all, so I apologize. I've been in the kitchen all day. But I also invite you to, just play with it. This is just the base recipe, so you can kind of get the idea. But the point here is to get inspired by the seasons. If you use things that are in season and do different, keep it diverse, you'll be set. You have the nutrients you need, and you'll be feeling good. Okay, so I'm gonna mute this real quick and mix it. Let's see. Can you see it? Let's see. There we go. Okay, never mind my stuff. And then I'm gonna mute it so you don't. Okay, so then you're gonna pulse the food processor until and just kind of slide the stuff that goes up the wall and adjust the moisture to your liking, right? These cashews I soaked overnight. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you could do that, or you could soak them in really hot water. Let me do it again. Okay, we're gonna check it again. Keep doing that until we get the consistency that we want, okay? And so this is something that you could, I'm using a food processor right now. That's my preference. You could use a blender, like a Vitamix. They have different gadgets. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, never mind. Just let's mix it one more time, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I think we got it. So see what it looks like. It's like a quesito, like I think I know it is requesón. I'm not sure if that's what I'm but it's once you put it in the fridge, it's gonna thicken up a little bit more, and it's if you eat cheese and like you can put it in your sandwich, you can make a taquito, if you're on the road on like rush. It's perfect. It's so good. Okay, I wish you could taste it. I hope you can make it at home. Again, it has white vinegar, water, lemon juice, salt, oil, herbs of your choice, nutritional yeast, chia, and cashew. It sounds like a lot, but it's really simple. And again, you could use your blender. It's a little harder depending on the cup. I like using food processor because it's más anchito, like it's wide and it's easier to kind of get into instead of the cup, and it's a whole situation. Okay, so that's going to be part of our huarache that we're going to be putting together today. Now let's get to the guiso, okay? So remember I pulled these little sticks out here. These are the stems of the flowers that connects the flower to the plant. We're going to use these. We're going to chop these up really fine. From the research that I did, the stem is the one that has the most nutrients, right? It's like the straw of the fruit or the flower to the plant. And the plant has a bigger straw that collects water from the soil and the roots. Okay, so we have that. I'm also going to be using spring onions. Spring onions right now are in season. You'll also probably see them on sale. Like I just harvested these today. I'm going to be splitting them up. So cutting the white part and the green part, all of it, but I'm going to be separating it because I'm going to be adding it at different times. And so if you're using just the green part, you know, let's say in a ensalada de papa or whatever you're using it for, you could actually just take off the green part and then just plant this on some dirt and it'll grow back. The green part will grow. And that's actually what I was doing, but I needed to harvest all of it. I'll do that. Spring onions, scallions are super easy to grow. I totally invite you to do it. Super fresh. And then also one of the benefits of eating seasonally is that the plant has more of its nutrients available because it hasn't been harvested long. Like if it's local, right? It's less days that it's been cut from when it was harvested to your table versus if it comes from, you know, a region that's far away and it's a different season and they harvest it way before it's ready so that it could carry well and transport well. And so by the time you get it on your plate, the nutrients, once you cut something, the nutrients start kind of fading away as time passes by, right? Ooh, this is strong, my eyes. Okay. So something to keep in mind, right? So if you're eating seasonally, it's more likely local, and then the life or the nutrients in the plant are still going to be available. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're going to keep this side here. And then we're also going to take the purslane. Verdolagas right now, I don't know where y'all shop, but I go to the Latino markets and I see them there too sometimes. Right now they're available. So that means they're in season. They're in season growing in my garden. These are just considered weeds, but they're so nutrient dense. Like they have iron, calcium, like things you wouldn't imagine. And people would like usually see this in the garden and think, oh my God, let's pull it out to get rid of it. But it's comida. This one, it's a little later in the season, so it has these little capullos. I don't know, I'm forgetting the word in English. That means that it's getting ready to flower. And so it's still relatively young, right? But it's flowering. So that means that it's getting triggers from the sunlight to flower. And so, I don't know if you could see the little flower in there. That's just an indication that the season is on its trail ends. And actually it brings up a good point. Like there's certain cues in the plant, in the genes of a plant, that are triggered by the sunlight at certain angles and that sort, that lets them know it's time to just develop into the next phase of their life, right? And so I feel that the same happens to us. We are mirrors, we are reflections of the fauna, you know, everywhere. And so it's pretty cool how that happens. There's certain things that only grow during the hot season, right? Like the tomatoes and the zucchinis. And it's because of the light and how the tilt to the earth and just its proximity to the sun. And it's pretty amazing. Okay. And then we also have these squash blossoms. You could see it has a little rib here and it's a little, just a little firmer compared to the more delicate petals. You could play around with it. You could open it, right? Look at how beautiful that is. Look at all that pollen. Can you see it? I can't tell if you can see it. But I'm gonna take this off and then just kind of open them like this. There's so many dishes you can do, right? Right now it's the season, and it's really, up to whatever way you want to get creative. I think that's also really important for our mental health, is having outlets where we can, just be creative and just have fun. Play with colors, play with the textures. Take that, if we're talking about self-care and being connected to mental health, take that time to cook up a really yummy dish using the things that are in nature. So I cut off the bottom, right? Because it's a little more firmer. I'm going to chop these up. So, part there. So just it cooks a little bit better, right? This is going to be, and since it's a little denser, right, compared to like the leaf here, that's why I'm going to chop it down a little bit so we cook more evenly, and the texture is different. But yeah, you could stuff these, right? People add cheese. Maybe we could even add the cashew cheese, right? But I just wanted to really share the and then I'm splitting the petals like this. Kind of just highlight what's in season, so that after this you go home, get inspired, go to the farmer's market, hit up your homies at the community garden, trade. It's up to y'all. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Look at this. There's also sopa de calabaza. There's so many different things. Okay. So that's how we're processing that. We're gonna keep this here, and then I already have a zucchini chopped up. I'm using the gray or Mexican squash because I chopped this one yesterday, and I didn't go into my garden yesterday and didn't see the squash, which is an Italian variety, Italian squash versus the Mexican squash. Again, the nutrients here are pretty much the same, right? And they're high in vitamin B's and other things. I'll go over my notes quickly just in a bit. But I want to talk about the cut here. It's important to cut things uniform so they cook well and evenly, right? And so earlier I had mentioned that the foods that we're seeing now into the summer are high in water content, right? And so this zucchini is high in water content. This zucchini is really, or squash, I'm sorry, is commonly used in Mexican cuisine, in the famous and delicious and wholesome dish calabacitas, right? And that usually includes this particular squash, corn, tomatoes, cilantro, cebolla. I wanted to hold off on adding tomato because the tomatoes aren't ready yet. They're barely tomato plants. You're seeing some tomatoes, but only the folks that started their seeds super early. So right now what we're seeing are flowers. So it's really fun trying to get creative with the ways you use squash from beginning to end of the season. And so right now in this particular time of year, this is what is available. So that's why I decided to do something a little bit more, just a little different, nothing too crazy. But then also, we're gonna cook it really light, okay? We're gonna get ready over here. Can you see? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm using a cast iron skillet, and I'm gonna get it really, really hot. Okay, and also I had mentioned to you that we're gonna be using Masa to make a huarache. I'm gonna actually turn on my comal right here too. That's in the middle of my stove. And I'm also gonna get that started. I took out the masa probably like an hour ago. And I like taking out my masa and getting it acclimated so that it's easier for it to cook, right? So it's something you can keep in mind. I've also added some water so it makes my masa really pliable, able to shape. I think it needs a little bit more water because it's been resting there for a little bit, and so it gets dehydrated, kind of like us, right? So let's see. I'm gonna move this around. All right. And so add a little bit of water. And I'm already getting the time, but this is going to be super quick. What I love about the spring and summer is that the recipes, I try to cook, try to make things really practical. I don't want to be cooking like complicated, crazy dishes, really involved. And when it's too hot and we're seeing the heat, the temperatures rise, So like I said, we're waiting and holding on to get it hot, okay? Okay. Oh, and so importance of eating the masa, and specifically nixtamalized masa, is that it has calcium, it has all the vitamin B's that we talked about. It has, again, it makes a complete protein with frijoles. I'm gonna add just a little bit of oil, just very little, because if we have too much liquid in there, it's going to release a lot of water, and so that's why I'm just gonna do this super quick. I'm gonna throw it down. I think it's hot enough. Right? I'm gonna make sure it's not crowded in the pan, and I'm just gonna let it sit there for a little bit, okay? We want it to not be crowded, and what I'm looking for is, like, I'm gonna sear it, right, on both sides if possible. And I'm gonna hold off on adding salt or seasoning because the salt draws out liquid as well as the heat, okay? And so we're gonna let that go. I'm gonna set up to make the huarache and roll it out. So give me one sec. And I'm not even gonna touch it. I'm just gonna leave it there, and it's gonna create just chemical, the heat. It's gonna create unleash or unlock flavors within the squash, right? So I'm gonna let it maybe cook for like a minute or so until you start to see the brown. That's what we want to see. Okay, super fast and simple. Really, it was just an invitation for y'all to kind of just think about the topic and ask yourself, am I getting the nutrients I need for my mental health, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna just kind of shake down. And do you see some of the brown? I hope so. Okay. And again, we're gonna leave it flat, not crowded, so they're not on top of each other, so they could get that browning a little bit, just a little bit, not too much. Okay. Okay, so then we're gonna get our little bolita here. A pound makes about 3 huaraches, depending on how big you make them. Okay. You're gonna, this is a lot of fun, y'all. So I invite you to make your own nixtamal. You're gonna make like a little thing like so, right? I'm gonna lay down the plastic. Sorry, I forgot my parchment paper. I'm gonna lay down like so, and I'm gonna try to see if I can use well, actually, no. Okay, so let's go back to real quickly to our squash. Okay, so have you noticed that no water, no water has been released too much. And so now I'm gonna add the other thing, okay? Actually, no, I'm gonna hold off a little bit longer, okay?
Marlene,
Right.
just giving you a heads up. We have about 15 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're gonna roll this out like so, take time to enjoy the process, right? For me, working with Masa reminds me of my elders, of visiting Mexico. Oh, okay. Right. You can make different shapes and forms. Pero mira, ta-da! That's it. The command should be hot enough, so because I turned it down con tiempo, and I'm gonna peel it back. You don't want to make it too thick, right? And then just lay it down on the command. Okay. Okay, now, and that we're gonna let also kind of like create like a sear. Okay, so that's that. I'm gonna turn it off actually, and then add the rest of the thing because I don't want to overcook it. Okay, so I'm gonna add the white part of the scallions. I'm gonna add the purslane. I'm gonna add the different parts of the flour. Mix it in. Try to get the heat from the pan to just lightly cook some of those things. We don't want to overcook the grains so that we don't lose all those nutrients, burn through all those nutrients, okay? So that's gonna, and I actually like building like a little tower of zucchini on top of like the chunkier stuff because it'll transfer the heat and cook it down, okay? Now, let's see. I'm gonna flip I wish I could show you up and close, but here we go. So when we turn it, flip it to the second, to the back side or the upside. We want to make sure not to leave it too long because then it'll start to crack. And we want to keep smooth, like here, okay? Like we have here. Generally, you can see it. I'll show you in a bit. But that's something to keep in mind so that no se ve feo. Okay, see, I kind of took too long and you see these little crackles here. You want to make sure you flip it in time so it's nice and smooth. It's okay. So you're going to let it cook a little bit longer, right? Depending on the thickness. Now I'm going to add the rest of the squash and not all the scallions. I just need some of them. There we go. I also wanted to share with y'all that I'm really big on cooking your nixtamal and preserving that tradition of nixtamal. And so what I've done personally is I cook some nixtamal on Sundays or at some point in the week. I cook enough for myself to have during the week. And I just have masa in the fridge. And it's super chill. I'm sorry, not chill, but it comes in handy because sometimes all I want is a taco de frijoles and I just, roll out the masa and it's great. And with a taquito de frijol, because se está inflando, un taquito de frijol con cashew, that is in itself a very highly nutritious snack. You're getting calcium, you're getting omega-3, um, essential amino acids, right? And then we're getting good fat if we're using the cashew cheese that we just talked about. Okay, and then it looks like I have 10 more minutes. So back to the guiso, and here's when I add the seasoning. You might want to add it immediately after you turn off the heat, so that the heat that's in the pan will help kind of infuse the salt into this zucchini. I'm gonna add some garlic powder as well. And boom, and that's it. It's super chill, super simple. It looks beautiful, right? We're starting to see the bright colors come through. And I have my beans over here. And we're gonna build this huarache, okay? All right, so here we go. Excuse the mess. We have 9 minutes. Okay. So we're gonna sorry, y'all. Okay. So we're gonna grab our frijoles. And it's also a good thing to have frijoles, cook frijoles like that same night you're cooking someone, cook a pot of frijoles. So you could have during the week. So I know a lot of vegans, they do beans and rice. I recommend doing beans and nixtamales, anything, right? You can make masa, you can have huaraches, tacos, gorditas, sopes, memelas, tetelas. It's an infinite amount of possibilities, right? And in doing that, you're getting more nutrients than just beans and rice, okay? You're getting a complete protein. All right, and we're getting plant-based protein, and we're avoiding the inflammation from all, the animal protein that we eat excess of can cause problems in our health and also our mental health. Okay, I'm gonna throw down some cashew cheese. Look at that. I think it looks good. Is it making y'all hungry? It's super simple. Again, you can make it as smooth or watery as you want. And then the guiso. Right? You could get fancy and decorated in different ways, right? We could have left a flor intact and they kind of put it on top, but I just wanted to cook it. Okay, look at that. Look at that. See, and then so in cooking it with a high heat pan, we're avoiding and by doing that, we're searing it and avoiding all that liquid to come out. Also by holding off on the salt, which draws out the liquid from our vegetables. Sometimes you want to do that for a sauce or whatnot. But in this particular case, I just wanted to cook it down so, it was kind of easier to chew, and it wasn't going to turn my huarache into like a sloppy huarache. All right. And to finish it off, we have some scallions. Se acabó. We did it. I think we did it in time. So if people have questions, I think I could take those questions. I'm actually not sure if somebody can tell me, or Maritza, if there's anything that people are asking about, but that's...
Yes, actually, yes, there is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yes, there is a question from early on, Marlene. The question is, I have a nut allergy and I hear about how nutritious they are. Are there any alternatives in terms of their nutrition?
I would suggest using pepitas or seeds, other seeds, sunflower seeds too. I don't know if you're also allergic to seeds as well, but it's an alternative to nuts.
Okay,
it would work in this particular situation. I think it would work. You wouldn't have to soak them. I would probably roast them a little bit to make them a little easier to break down and mix better with the other ingredients. And then you would just regulate the liquid and try to make it so it spreads and doesn't run off.
Okay, thank you, Marlene. And the other question that came in, aside from the thank you and yum comments, is, hola, how do you make the masa?
Oh, okay. So I would recommend, it's really simple. All you have to do is you need dry maize, right? You need dry maize, cal, and water. Usually the ratio is 1 tablespoon of cal for 1 pound of dry maize, and enough water to cover the maize, and also maybe like up to this much between this little line, this much space above. So water that covers the maize and this much more. That's just the general rule. And then you cook it, you mix it well, you cook it for about 45 minutes to an hour. You want to let it reach boiling point, but you don't want it to like do it like a rolling boil, you know, like it's like super bubbles, right? You want to just barely see some bubbles, because we don't want to get it too hot. If we make it too hot, our maize is going to become chicludo, like chewy, right? It's gonna chemical reaction. It's going to be too much, and it's just going to break the starch chains. So we want to avoid that. But then after that, you check if the whole of the maize, there's this little thin skin that it's not visible to one's eye. But for instance, when you eat palomitas or you eat popcorn, you know, you get that little stuff stuck between your teeth. That's the little skin that maize has. And you want to cook it for 45 minutes to an hour. And then you rub the maize kernel. And if the little film or the little skin comes off, it's ready. You turn it off and you soak it overnight. And that's after that, you grind it. There's many different ways of grinding. You could have a hand mill, manually grind it yourself. There's also electric molinos. I've heard people use juicers. I forget what type of juicer it is, but juicers to make masa, to put the nixtamal down and the masa comes out. So yeah, I would just explore different things. And then some tortillerias also, if you take enough maize, will grind your maize, but not all of them do that. So it's just, I would invite you to visit your local tortilleria and ask.
Right.
But it's super simple.
Thank you, Marlene. There's a couple other questions. We have a minute to 2 left, so we'll take the rest of the questions, and then we'll have to take a minute to close out. And in the meantime, look at that beauty. You know, appreciate the nutritious meal that Marlene has just shared with you the recipe for. So some of the comments are, thank you so much to everyone who helped make this happen. Greatly appreciated. That's from Nancy Garcia. And people are asking if this video is going to be available to watch afterwards. It will live on the Mujeres de Maíz YouTube channel. So absolutely, you'll be able to get it there and rewatch it as many times as you wish. And then Claudia Mercado says she can't wait to make the cashew cheese. Yummy. So with that, Marlene, I'd like for you to, if you wish to share, you know, any last words and share with everyone of your brilliance as a cook and eating seasonally as medicine.
Well, I just want to, I forgot to mention the name of my project, which is Irekuarhikua. You'll see it come up either on the banner or here somewhere on the screen. It's a P'urhepecha word. It means way of life, and I think it's a beautiful word to capture eating seasonally, growing your own food, and preserving food ways, right? It's just not a fad diet. It's a way of life, right? And so, I invite y'all to check me out on Instagram. I offer meal prep services for folks in the LA area. And then I also do cooking demonstrations, the community events, and that's all I could think of. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope y'all try it and feel inspired to try something seasonal.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you so much for your wonderful skills. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here at the Mujeres de Maíz We Rise programming. Don't forget to join us live May 22nd at our live art show. It's happening at Self Help Graphics from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We want to thank the LA County Department of Public Health and We Rise LA and everyone who has been participating in these wonderful monthly May programs. Please continue to tune in so that you can get the wonderful tools and great information to stay healthy and stay, alive and focused and in a good mood with good food. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.